Could you tell us a little bit about the Achola Woman Collective? Why did you find it and what does it do?
Yeah, so it's quite a new initiative as a collective. So it started out as an event series back in February earlier this year. And it was called Ain't I a Woman, What's Race Got to Do With It? And it was the SOAS Women's Society that put it on. And me and especially my friend Jovanka, who helped me on this a lot, we kind of felt that we still needed to do something with it once the event series was done. So that's when we decided to actually make it a collective. So it's now, we're 9 women and we're all working on different areas. So I'm the editor and the founder. Jovanka's the visual curator. We saw Toby, who's a part of fundraising, and then we have people just working on different areas, events. And yeah, we're a platform for Black women's well-being and writing. And yeah, so we're still quite new, so we'll see where it takes us.
So what is the aim of this initiative?
So the aim of this initiative is to make Black women's work visible and to give it a place that is of creating an alternative space where we don't always have to knock on doors to actually be seen, but that we just have our own space.
So what is the current space like for women of colour or Black women? Because you founded this initiative. Is that to say that there aren't other initiatives out there or that they're not really working?
There are other initiatives out there, but I still think that they're quite few. So I think particularly in this area, when we've been historically and structurally denied a voice and a place, you can't really have enough spaces. So we're just going to be an addition to the amazing work that's being done. But I still think that there's lots of room for more.
So what's your link up like to these other groups that you're talking about?
I'm part of the Black Feminists UK mailing list. I go to Body Narratives events, and that's about it in London. Because I'm not even from here. I'm from Berlin, where there's nothing on this topic. So it's amazing that there's actually a space in the community that you can kind of tap into.
So why does London have this, do you think?
Well, I think London is a lot more international, diverse than Berlin. And in Germany, on the whole, the voices of women of colour, especially women of African descent, has just been erased, or of Black people in general, actually.
So women of colour, what does that term actually mean?
So it's a term that is, when I came, it was very foreign to me. I didn't quite understand even the term Black in its political sense, because we don't have that in Germany or Kenya, where I'm also from. So it talks about women of African, Asian, Latin American, Middle Eastern background, and yeah, it's a term of collective unity in the front of white supremacy.
So the initiative or the collective that works along that platform, is that correct?
No, actually, it does not use the term Black as in its political term. It actually only focuses on women of African and Caribbean descent.
So what do you make of those who use the term politically Black as a mobilisation?
I understand where they come from, and I respect the history in the UK, but it was, and to a certain extent still is, quite alien to me. So especially because both me and Jovanka are not, have never identified as politically Black, and are both of African descent, or I'm mixed race. It made more sense for us to kind of niche it even more.
Why was that? Why was there a need to niche it?
Because I think sometimes, even in Black feminism, the voices of women of Afro-Caribbean descent can go under, and I just think that there is a time for separate spaces, and then there's, on a larger front, we can come together in the face of oppression.
Oppression from whom?
White supremacy. So kind of the structures that whiteness is superior to other people, that it dominates,
so
or to other races.
So is it only in relation to white people? Is it, because obviously it's feminism, so you're dealing a lot with women's issues, so does that not also mean men as well in that?
Yeah, of course. So in the face of oppression, and obviously because we try to be an intersectional space, not just in theory, but also in practice. So look at how, although we are Black women, how are we still different? So some of us might be trans, others might be disabled, others might be bisexual, lesbian. So we are not just Black women, but we have many, many different elements to our identity that again make us oppressed in different ways.
They didn't knock the camera, did they? Okay. If one of you wants to stand there and inform people just to walk out that way.
Should we just wait?
Yeah.
It's fine. I will.
Sorry. TV calls. It gives me a chance to
Black
get.
Black History Month.
So do you see the terms such as having politically black, do you see it in a sense as almost divisive, if not counterproductive to your cause? Because given the fact that there are so many different people from different backgrounds, they have different cultural issues, does that not then, just the fact that people are using that term and trying to organise along those lines, does that not create problems?
I think it has the potential to create problems, but it doesn't have to. Because I think if you acknowledge from the beginning that although we might all be, in this case, women of colour, there are still separate issues, and there are still times when we are oppressed differently, and we need to create separate spaces to discuss those issues and address them adequately, to then ultimately come together.
So how are you discussing these issues, and what form does this discussion take?
So in the Anti-Woman Collective, we're going to be both an events company and also a platform for writing. So obviously writing, people will voice their opinions. In events, we're going to address white supremacy. What does it mean to be a black woman in this space called normal, and that we actually define outside of often. And we're also going to create like a community of love and sisterhood, where we hope to open it up to loads of other black women, where we can come together and discuss and just have a space of our own.
But isn't it still problematic, because even if you're looking at in terms of African or Afro-Caribbean, because my understanding is that you're saying black in the sense of Caribbean and African, but because these are two very different places, just in terms of where they are, not just geographically, but culturally and so on, the historic experiences of people from Jamaica are not the same as Nigeria, and then within Africa you have multiple sub-identities. So isn't this all rather just problematic, isn't it? Just
I think that we often see those differences, but in a world, in a white supremacist society, I think we are often homogenized and oppressed in similar ways. And same as me, I'm not black, I'm mixed race. But still growing up in Germany, I identified as black because, first of all, there were no positive words to describe mixed race children. And I was just lumped in a group with all other fully black people. And so I think that often the outside world, as much as we want to acknowledge our differences and embrace those, we are oppressed in similar ways, just on the basis of skin colour.
Mm-hmm. So what form does this oppression take?
So it takes anti-blackness all over the world, that when the darker you are, the less you are. It takes form in discrimination, structural inequality when it comes to attainment, who goes to school, what is being taught, and it spans all aspects of life.
So how is your initiative actually taking this on? I mean, you've mentioned some of the stuff you're doing.
Yeah.
Could you give us more details about the stuff you're doing?
Yeah, so for example, when we did the event series, we opened up and closed with a play for coloured girls who have considered suicide when the rainbow is enough, which was obviously art. And then we had a panel discussion on black misrepresentation. We had an introduction to black feminism, and it's just about educating ourselves and making it accessible for the wider public as well, because even all of us are probably university educated, and we're quite privileged to actually have that. And what does it mean to be truly intersectional and actually also involve people who are not from the same background?
So what are the challenges that feminists like you face?
Well, I think first of all that, again, because I am mixed race, I am also privileged within the black community for having lighter skin. And I sometimes also grapple with, am I the right person to be doing a black feminist collective? But I do think that because we have so many different women, we all come from different walks of life, and we're able to speak to a variety of experiences.
And so, you think about that question? Even I forget questions. These horrible long pauses. I've done 5 interviews today. So you're working, you've mentioned things such as universities, but what are you doing outside of the university? Because there's a lot of people of various descents and various African descents who've never gone to university and many have never even finished school. So how are you outreaching, or are you trying to outreach to these people too?
Yeah, so like I was saying, we're still very much in our beginning phases, and it's also an issue of resources. So the event series took place at SOAS because I was able to get free space for example, and we were able to put on all events for free apart from the play. However, we are now trying to take it beyond, also to kind of get out of this exclusively academic space. And like I said, to make it truly intersectional, to reach out, we are going to reach out to different organizations to make it a truly intersectional and inclusive space in practice.
So it's Black History Month this month. What does Black History Month mean to you?
So coming from Germany, it never really meant much because it was non-existent. However, I went to the States for a year in 2009 and 2010. So that's when I first encountered it. And then obviously coming here, it's quite a big deal. So I think it's a unique opportunity to highlight how Black people have been erased from history, or how our narratives are very concentrated on particular aspects, and to celebrate different parts of history or tell a different side of that history. And we're also doing it with Ain't I a Woman Collective. We have a bunch of workshops that are going to focus on a Black feminist perspective on reclaiming self-worth and reclaiming your own story, also working together with the body narratives.
So what do you hope for the future for this initiative?
I hope that it can be an initiative that kind of showcases the amazing work that Black women produce every day. I hope that we can create this community of solidarity, and that we kind of reinforce the importance of Black feminist discourse, Black feminist spaces.
So, because it is Black History Month, do you feel though that the Black woman experience and the feminist experience is represented in the month? And if so, why so? If not, why not?
Probably on the whole not, because even if we look back at what is considered Black history, who do we probably go to? Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. We always focus on Black men. However, to focus on Ain't I a Woman as well, about what about us? Where do we come into play, and why is it that we have been structurally erased not only from white history, from what is made as mainstream history, but also from Black history? And I think it's important to constantly carve out that space, which is why we decided to put on this workshop series, which are all led by Black women.
So, but what is the actual title, Ain't I a Woman? What does it actually mean?
So it comes from a speech by Sojourner Truth, which she did in the 19th century in front of a group of white women. And she was just kind of talking about, ain't I a woman? Why am I excluded from this feminist movement? And why is my voice not equally heard?
Okay.